Comptable.
Accountant. Accountant.
Expert comptable.
Chartered accountant. Chartered accountant.
Assistant comptable.
Accounting assistant. Accounting assistant.
Auditeur.
Auditor. Auditor.
Auditeur interne.
Internal auditor. Internal auditor.
Auditeur externe.
External auditor. External auditor.
Impôt.
Tax. Tax.
Conseiller fiscal.
Tax advisor. Tax advisor.
Conseiller financier.
Financial advisor. Financial advisor.
Consultant financier.
Financial consultant. Financial consultant.
Consultant fiscaliste.
Tax consultant. Tax consultant.
Contrôleur financier.
Financial controller. Financial controller.
Contrôleur interne.
Internal controller. Internal controller.
Contrôleur de gestion.
Business controller. Business controller.
Banquier.
Banker. Banker.
Banquier d'affaires.
Investment banker. Investment banker.
Actionnaire.
Shareholder. Shareholder.
Gestionnaire de crédit.
Credit manager. Credit manager.
Trésorier.
Treasurer. Treasurer.
Responsable de paie.
Payroll manager. Payroll manager.
Technicien de paie.
Payroll technician. Payroll technician.
Consolideur.
Consolidator. Consolidator.
Directeur comptable.
Accounting director. Accounting director.
Directeur administratif et financier.
Administrative and financial director. Administrative and financial director.
Ingénieur d'affaires.
Business engineer. Business engineer.
Dette.
Debt. Debt.
Dette.
Liabilities. Liabilities.
Dette financière.
Financial debts. Financial debts.
Dette non financière.
Non-financial debts. Non-financial debts.
Créance financière.
Financial receivables. Financial receivables.
Créance non financière.
Non-financial receivables. Non-financial receivables.
Compte créditeur.
Account payable. Account payable.
Dette à court terme.
Short-term debt. Short-term debt.
Dette à long terme.
Long-term debt. Long-term debt.
Date d'échéance de la dette.
Debt maturity. Debt maturity.
Perte.
Loss. Loss.
Créance douteuse.
Bad debt. Bad debt.
Créance irrécouvrable.
Uncollectible account. Uncollectible account.
Actif.
Asset. Asset.
Actif tangible.
Tangible assets. Tangible assets.
Actifs intangibles.
Intangible assets. Intangible assets.
Actif net.
Net asset. Net asset.
Actif financier.
Financial asset. Financial asset.
Actif immobilisé.
Fixed asset. Fixed asset.
Apport partiel d'actifs.
Partial transfer of assets. Partial transfer of assets.
Actif circulant.
Current asset. Current asset.
Bilan.
Balance sheet. Balance sheet.
Bilan actif.
Balance sheet assets. Balance sheet assets.
Amortissement cumulé.
Accrued depreciation. Accrued depreciation.
Immobilisation financière.
Financial fixed assets. Financial fixed assets.
Amortissement comptable.
Accounting depreciation. Accounting depreciation.
Amortissement des immobilisations corporelles.
Depreciation. Depreciation.
Amortissement des immobilisations incorporelles.
Amortization. Amortization.
Valeur mobilière.
Securities. Securities.
Valeur mobilière de placement.
Marketable securities. Marketable securities.
Acompte.
Down payment. Down payment.
Action.
Share. Share.
Actionnaire.
Shareholder. Shareholder.
Valeur comptable.
Book value. Book value.
Valeur de marché.
Market value. Market value.
Opération comptable.
Accounting transactions. Accounting transactions.
Opérations diverses en comptabilité.
Various accounting transactions. Various accounting transactions.
Opérations diverses réparatrices.
Various restorative operations. Various restorative operations.
Opérations diverses centralisatrices.
Various centralizing operations. Various centralizing operations.
Encaissement.
Collection. Collection.
Décaissement.
Disbursement. Disbursement.
Activité d'exploitation.
Operating activities. Operating activities.
Activité hors exploitation.
Non-operating activities. Non-operating activities.
Opération en devise étrangère.
Foreign operation. Foreign operation.
Réduction.
Discount. Discount.
Fusion.
Merger. Merger.
Résultat d'exploitation.
Operating income. Operating income.
Imputé.
To impute. To impute.
Affacturage.
Factoring. Factoring.
Emprunt.
Borrowing. Borrowing.
Dépôt.
Deposit. Deposit.
Versement.
Payment. Payment.
Créancier.
Creditor. Creditor.
Débiteur.
Debtor. Debtor.
Chiffre d'affaires.
Turnover. Turnover.
Chiffre d'affaires net.
Net sales. Net sales.
Bénéfice.
Income. Income.
Bénéfice net.
Net profit. Net profit.
Bénéfice brut.
Gross profit. Gross profit.
Devis.
Quotation. Quotation.
Faire le devis.
To quote. To quote.
Facturer.
To invoice. To invoice.
Flux de trésorerie.
Cash flow. Cash flow.
Inventaire.
Inventory. Inventory.
Tableau de bord.
Scorecard. Scorecard.
Fonds de roulement.
Working capital. Working capital.
Bail.
Lease. Lease.
Solvabilité.
Solvency. Solvency.
Dividende.
Dividend. Dividend.
Moins-value.
Capital loss. Capital loss.
Capitaux propres.
Stockholders' equity. Stockholders' equity.
Plan comptable.
Chart of accounts. Chart of accounts.
Tenue de la comptabilité.
Bookkeeping. Bookkeeping.
Solde.
Balance. Balance.
Prévision.
Forecasting. Forecasting.
Revenu net.
Net income. Net income.
Retour sur investissement.
Return on investment. Return on investment.
Équilibrer les comptes.
To balance the books. To balance the books.
Marché haussier.
Bull market. Bull market.
Marché baissier.
Bear market. Bear market.
Contracter un prêt.
Take out a loan. Take out a loan.
Truquer les comptes.
To cook the books. To cook the books.
Chiffre approximatif.
Ballpark figure. Ballpark figure.
Frais généraux.
Overhead. Overhead.
Coût fixe.
Fixed costs. Fixed costs.
Coût variable.
Variable costs. Variable costs.
Taux d'intérêt.
Interest rate. Interest rate.
Achat.
Purchases. Purchases.
Achat de marchandises.
Purchases of goods for resale. Purchases of goods for resale.
Achat non stocké.
Purchases of non-inventory items. Purchases of non-inventory items.
Fourniture.
Supplies. Supplies.
Achat stocké.
Inventory purchases. Inventory purchases.
Autres approvisionnements.
Other consumables. Other consumables.
Matière première.
Raw materials. Raw materials.
Acompte.
Advance payment. Advance payment.
Acquisition des immobilisations.
Purchase of fixed assets. Purchase of fixed assets.
Acquisition de parts.
Acquisition of shares. Acquisition of shares.
Banque.
Bank. Bank.
Établissement financier et assimilé.
Financial and similar institutions. Financial and similar institutions.
Bâtiment.
Building. Building.
Bien immeuble.
Immovable property. Immovable property.
Bien meuble.
Movable property. Movable property.
Bien.
Good. Good.
Bien immobilier.
Real estate. Real estate.
Bien mobilier.
Movable property. Movable property.
Bien sous-traité.
Subcontracted goods. Subcontracted goods.
Bilan.
Balance sheet. Balance sheet.
Cadeau à la clientèle.
Gifts to customers. Gifts to customers.
Caisse.
Cash on hand. Cash on hand.
Caisse en devise.
Cash on hand in foreign currency. Cash on hand in foreign currency.
Caisse en monnaie nationale.
Cash on hand in national currency. Cash on hand in national currency.
Caisse siège social.
Cash on hand at head office. Cash on hand at head office.
Caisse succursale.
Cash on hand at branch. Cash on hand at branch.
Caisse du Trésor et des établissements publics.
Treasury and public agency accounts. Treasury and public agency accounts.
Capital.
Capital. Capital.
Capital appelé.
Called up capital. Called up capital.
Capital de l'exploitant individuel.
Sole proprietor capital. Sole proprietor capital.
Date d'escompte.
Discount date. Discount date.
Débiteurs divers et créditeurs divers.
Sundry accounts receivable and payable. Sundry accounts receivable and payable.
Déchets.
Waste. Waste.
Département.
Departments. Departments.
Dépôt.
Deposits. Deposits.
Dépôt et cautionnement.
Deposits and guarantees. Deposits and guarantees.
Dette.
Debts. Debts.
Dette à moins d'un an.
Debts of less than 1 year. Debts of less than 1 year.
Dette à plus d'un an.
Debts of more than 1 year. Debts of more than 1 year.
Dette commerciale.
Trade debts. Trade debts.
Échantillon.
Samples. Samples.
Échéance de l'effet.
Maturity of the bill. Maturity of the bill.
Écriture.
Record. Record.
Écriture comptable.
Accounting record. Accounting record.
Effet escompté.
Bill discounted. Bill discounted.
Effet.
Bills. Bills.
Effet à l'encaissement.
Bills for collection. Bills for collection.
Effet à l'escompte.
Discounted bills. Discounted bills.
Effet à recevoir.
Bills receivable. Bills receivable.
Effets échus.
Matured bills. Matured bills.
Facture d'avoir.
Credit note. Credit note.
Facture.
Invoices. Invoices.
Facture à établir.
Invoices to be issued. Invoices to be issued.
Facture non parvenue.
Invoices not yet received. Invoices not yet received.
Fournisseur.
Suppliers. Suppliers.
Achat d'immobilisation.
Accounts payable for fixed assets. Accounts payable for fixed assets.
Fournisseur débiteur.
Suppliers with a debit balance. Suppliers with a debit balance.
Fournisseur d'exploitation.
Operating suppliers. Operating suppliers.
Fournisseur d'immobilisation.
Fixed asset suppliers. Fixed asset suppliers.
Fourniture de bureau.
Office supplies. Office supplies.
Garantie de bonne fin.
Performance bond. Performance bond.
Garantie donnée au client.
Warranties given to customers. Warranties given to customers.
Groupe.
Group. Group.
Groupe et associé.
Group and partners. Group and partners.
Hausse des prix.
Price increase. Price increase.
Honoraire.
Fees. Fees.
Hors taxe.
Excluding taxes. Excluding taxes.
Jeton.
Token. Token.
Jeton détenu.
Tokens held. Tokens held.
Jeton émis.
Tokens issued. Tokens issued.
Immobilisation.
Fixed assets. Fixed assets.
Immobilisation corporelle.
Tangible fixed assets. Tangible fixed assets.
Immobilisation corporelle en cours.
Tangible fixed assets in progress. Tangible fixed assets in progress.
Immobilisation en cours.
Fixed assets in progress. Fixed assets in progress.
Immobilisation financière.
Financial fixed assets. Financial fixed assets.
Immobilisation incorporelle.
Intangible fixed assets. Intangible fixed assets.
Immobilisation incorporelle en cours.
Intangible fixed assets in progress. Intangible fixed assets in progress.
Immobilisation mise en concession.
Concession fixed assets. Concession fixed assets.
Impôts et taxes.
Taxes and duties. Taxes and duties.
Impôts locaux.
Local taxes. Local taxes.
Législation en vigueur.
Current legislation. Current legislation.
Lettre de change.
Bill of exchange. Bill of exchange.
Licence.
Licenses. Licenses.
Litige.
Litigation. Litigation.
Location de coffre.
Safe deposit box rental. Safe deposit box rental.
Location.
Rental. Rental.
Location diverse.
Sundry rentals. Sundry rentals.
Location immobilière.
Real estate rental. Real estate rental.
Location mobilière.
Rental of movable property. Rental of movable property.
Logiciel.
Software. Software.
Magasin.
Store. Store.
Maintenance.
Maintenance. Maintenance.
Marchandise.
Goods for resale. Goods for resale.
Marque.
Trademarks. Trademarks.
Matériel.
Equipment. Equipment.
Matériel de bureau et matériel informatique.
Office equipment and computer hardware. Office equipment and computer hardware.
Matériel de transport.
Transport equipment. Transport equipment.
Matériel industriel.
Industrial machinery and equipment. Industrial machinery and equipment.
Matière et fourniture.
Materials and supplies. Materials and supplies.
Matières achetées.
Purchased materials. Purchased materials.
Obligataire.
Debenture holders. Debenture holders.
Obligation.
Bonds. Bonds.
Obligation cautionnée.
Guaranteed bonds. Guaranteed bonds.
Obligation cotée.
Listed bonds. Listed bonds.
Obligation non cotée.
Unlisted bonds. Unlisted bonds.
Opération courante.
Current transactions. Current transactions.
Opération non professionnelle.
Non-business activities. Non-business activities.
Opération professionnelle.
Business activities. Business activities.
Opération sur le capital.
Capital transactions. Capital transactions.
Organisme financier.
Financial institutions. Financial institutions.
Participation.
Equity interests. Equity interests.
Part propre.
Own shares. Own shares.
Passif.
Liabilities. Liabilities.
Pénalité.
Penalties. Penalties.
Pensions et obligations similaires.
Pensions and similar obligations. Pensions and similar obligations.
Personnel.
Employees. Employees.
Avancée à compte.
Advance payments on account. Advance payments on account.
Personnel, rémunération due.
Employees' salaries payable. Employees' salaries payable.
Personnel détaché.
Seconded staff. Seconded staff.
Personnel et comptes rattachés.
Employees and related accounts. Employees and related accounts.
Rachat.
Buyback. Buyback.
Rebut.
Scrap. Scrap.
Dépenses de réception.
Entertainment expenses. Entertainment expenses.
Recherche et développement.
Research and development. Research and development.
Réclamation.
Claim. Claim.
Recouvrement.
Collection. Collection.
Recouvrement de créances.
Debt collection. Debt collection.
Région.
Regions. Regions.
Remboursement de dettes financières.
Repayment of financial debts. Repayment of financial debts.
Rémunération du personnel.
Employee compensation. Employee compensation.
Salaire.
Payroll. Payroll.
Sécurité sociale.
Social security. Social security.
Services bancaires et assimilés.
Banking and similar services. Banking and similar services.
Services extérieurs.
External services. External services.
Société de capitaux.
Joint stock company. Joint stock company.
Société de bourse.
Brokerage firms. Brokerage firms.
Sol d'autrui.
Third party's land. Third party's land.
Sol propre.
Own land. Own land.
Solde débiteur.
Debit balance. Debit balance.
Solde créditeur.
Credit balance. Credit balance.
TVA à décaisser.
VAT payable. VAT payable.
TVA collecté.
VAT collected. VAT collected.
TVA du intracommunautaire, UE.
VAT due within the EU. VAT due within the EU.
TVA sur autres biens et services.
VAT on other goods and services. VAT on other goods and services.
TVA sur immobilisation.
VAT on fixed assets. VAT on fixed assets.
Taxe d'apprentissage.
Apprenticeship tax. Apprenticeship tax.
Taxe sur les salaires.
Payroll taxes. Payroll taxes.
Taxe sur les véhicules des sociétés.
Company vehicle tax. Company vehicle tax.
Taxes diverses.
Various taxes. Various taxes.
Taxe foncière.
Property taxes. Property taxes.
Valeur ajoutée.
Value added. Value added.
Valeur brute.
Gross value. Gross value.
Valeur comptable nette.
Net book value. Net book value.
Valeur d'acquisition.
Acquisition cost. Acquisition cost.
Valeur nette.
Net value. Net value.
Valeur nominale.
Nominal value. Nominal value.
Valeur à l'encaissement.
Cash equivalents. Cash equivalents.
Valeur mobilière.
Securities. Securities.
Vente de biens ou de prestations de services.
Sales of goods or services. Sales of goods or services.
Vente de marchandises.
Sales of goods for resale. Sales of goods for resale.
Acte de société.
Company deed. Company deed.
Actif.
Assets. Assets.
Actif circulant.
Current assets. Current assets.
Actif corporel.
Tangible assets. Tangible assets.
Actifs immobilisés.
Fixed assets. Fixed assets.
Actifs incorporels.
Intangible assets. Intangible assets.
Actionnaires.
Shareholders. Shareholders.
Action.
Shares. Shares.
Action cotée.
Listed shares. Listed shares.
Action non cotée.
Unlisted shares. Unlisted shares.
Bilan de clôture.
Closing balance sheet. Closing balance sheet.
Bilan d'ouverture.
Opening balance sheet. Opening balance sheet.
Bulletin de salaire.
Payslip. Payslip.
Bureau.
Office. Office.
Bon.
Bills. Bills.
Bon de caisse à court terme.
Short-term notes. Short-term notes.
Bon du trésor.
Treasury bills. Treasury bills.
Bon du trésor et bon de caisse à court terme.
Treasury bills and short-term notes. Treasury bills and short-term notes.
Capital et réserve.
Capital and reserves. Capital and reserves.
Capital non appelé.
Uncalled capital. Uncalled capital.
Capital non versé.
Unpaid capital. Unpaid capital.
Capital social.
Share capital. Share capital.
Capital souscrit.
Subscribed capital. Subscribed capital.
Capital versé.
Paid capital. Paid capital.
Capitaux propres.
Owner's equity. Owner's equity.
Catalogue et imprimé.
Catalogs and prints. Catalogs and prints.
Caution de bonne fin.
Performance bond. Performance bond.
Cautionnement.
Sureties. Sureties.
Certificat d'économie d'énergie.
Energy saving certificates. Energy saving certificates.
Chèque.
Check. Check.
Dette d'exploitation.
Operating debts. Operating debts.
Dette financière.
Financial debts. Financial debts.
Dette fiscale.
Tax debts. Tax debts.
Dette fiscale et sociale.
Tax and Social Security debts. Tax and Social Security debts.
Dette fournisseur.
Trade payables. Trade payables.
Dette sur immobilisation.
Accounts payable for fixed assets. Accounts payable for fixed assets.
Devise.
Foreign currencies. Foreign currencies.
Disponibilité.
Cash and cash equivalents. Cash and cash equivalents.
Dividende à payer.
Dividends payable. Dividends payable.
Documentation générale.
General documentation. General documentation.
Effet non échu.
Unmatured bills. Unmatured bills.
Emballage.
Packaging. Packaging.
Emballage à usage mixte.
Mixed-use packaging. Mixed-use packaging.
Emballage et matériel à rendre.
Returnable packaging and equipment. Returnable packaging and equipment.
Emballage perdu.
Lost packaging. Lost packaging.
Emballage récupérable.
Returnable packaging. Returnable packaging.
Emballage récupérable non identifiable.
Unidentifiable recoverable packaging. Unidentifiable recoverable packaging.
Émetteur de bons.
Issuer of warrants. Issuer of warrants.
Émetteur d'obligations.
Issuer of bonds. Issuer of bonds.
Émission de titres participatifs.
Issues of non-voting shares. Issues of non-voting shares.
Fourniture.
Supplies. Supplies.
Fournitures administratives.
Office supplies. Office supplies.
Fournitures consommables.
Consumable supplies. Consumable supplies.
Fournitures d'ateliers et d'usines.
Workshop and factory supplies. Workshop and factory supplies.
Fournitures de magasins.
Store supplies. Store supplies.
Fournitures d'entretien et de petit équipement.
Maintenance and small equipment supplies. Maintenance and small equipment supplies.
Fournitures non stockables.
Utilities. Utilities.
Frais accessoires.
Ancillary costs. Ancillary costs.
Frais d'acte et de contentieux.
Legal and litigation fees. Legal and litigation fees.
Frais de constitution.
Setup costs. Setup costs.
Indemnité.
Allowances. Allowances.
Intérêt.
Interests. Interests.
Intérêt bancaire et sur opération de financement.
Interest on bank and financing transactions. Interest on bank and financing transactions.
Intérêt couru.
Accrued interest. Accrued interest.
Intérêt des autres dettes.
Interest on other debts. Interest on other debts.
Intérêt des emprunts et dettes.
Interest on loans and debts. Interest on loans and debts.
Intermédiaire financier.
Financial intermediaries. Financial intermediaries.
Inventaire.
Inventory count. Inventory count.
Inventaire périodique.
Periodic inventory system. Periodic inventory system.
Inventaire permanent.
Perpetual inventory system. Perpetual inventory system.
Matière consommable.
Consumable materials. Consumable materials.
Matière de récupération.
Recovered materials. Recovered materials.
Matière et fourniture.
Materials and supplies. Materials and supplies.
Matière première.
Raw materials. Raw materials.
Médecine du travail.
Occupational medicine. Occupational medicine.
Mission.
Assignments. Assignments.
Mobilier.
Furniture. Furniture.
Monnaie nationale.
National currency. National currency.
Organismes publics internationaux.
International public bodies. International public bodies.
Organismes sociaux.
Social agencies. Social agencies.
Personnel extérieur à l'entreprise.
External employee. External employee.
Personnel intérimaire.
Temporary employee. Temporary employee.
Personnel prêté.
Staff on loan. Staff on loan.
Perte de change.
Foreign exchange losses. Foreign exchange losses.
Perte sur créance irrécouvrable.
Bad debts written off. Bad debts written off.
Pièce justificative.
Supporting documents. Supporting documents.
Plan d'actionnariat des employés.
Employee share ownership plan. Employee share ownership plan.
Plan d'épargne d'entreprise.
Company savings plan. Company savings plan.
Plus-value nette.
Net capital gains. Net capital gains.
Plus-value sur cession d'actifs.
Capital gains on sales of assets. Capital gains on sales of assets.
Rémunération due.
Salaries payable. Salaries payable.
Rente viagère.
Life annuities. Life annuities.
Rentrée sur créance amortie.
Collection of bad debts written off. Collection of bad debts written off.
Réserve.
Reserves. Reserves.
Restructuration.
Restructuring. Restructuring.
Retenue.
Hold back. Hold back.
Retrait.
Withdrawal. Withdrawal.
Revenu des autres créances.
Income from other receivables. Income from other receivables.
Revenu des créances commerciales.
Income from trade receivables. Income from trade receivables.
Revenu des créances diverses.
Income from sundry receivables. Income from sundry receivables.
Solde du compte.
Balance of account. Balance of account.
Solde nul.
Zero balance. Zero balance.
Solde créditeur de banque.
Bank credit balances. Bank credit balances.
Sol.
Ground level land. Ground level land.
Souscription de part.
Subscription of shares. Subscription of shares.
Sous-sol.
Underground level land. Underground level land.
Sous-sol et sursol.
Underground and above ground level land. Underground and above ground level land.
Stock final.
Ending inventory. Ending inventory.
Stock initial.
Beginning inventory. Beginning inventory.
Stock.
Inventory. Inventory.
Terrain.
Land. Land.
Terrains aménagés.
Serviced land. Serviced land.
Terrain bâti.
Developed land. Developed land.
Terrain de carrière.
Quarry land. Quarry land.
Terrain nu.
Undeveloped land. Undeveloped land.
Titre.
Securities. Securities.
Titre de participation.
Equity investments. Equity investments.
Titre de placement.
Investment securities. Investment securities.
Titres immobilisés.
Long-term securities. Long-term securities.
Transports administratifs.
Administrative transport. Administrative transport.
Vente de produits fabriqués.
Sales of manufactured goods. Sales of manufactured goods.
Vente de produits finis.
Sales of finished goods. Sales of finished goods.
Vente de produits intermédiaires.
Sales of intermediate goods. Sales of intermediate goods.
Vente de produits résiduels.
Sales of residual goods. Sales of residual goods.
Versement de transport.
Transport tax. Contribution to public transports. Transport tax. Contribution to public transports.
Versements anticipés.
Prepayments. Prepayments.
Versements reçus.
Payments received. Payments received.
Voyages et déplacements.
Travel and trips. Travel and trips.
Chèque à encaisser.
Checks for collection. Checks for collection.
Chèques postaux.
Postal checks. Postal checks.
Action propre.
Own shares. Own shares.
Administrateur.
Director. Director.
Administration des impôts.
Tax authorities. Tax authorities.
Agencement et aménagement de terrain.
Land fixtures and installations. Land fixtures and installations.
Allocation familiale.
Family allowances. Family allowances.
Allocation logement.
Contributions to the National Fund for Housing. Contributions to the National Fund for Housing.
Amende et pénalités.
Fines and penalties. Fines and penalties.
Amortissement linéaire.
Straight-line depreciation and amortization. Straight-line depreciation and amortization.
Amortissement.
Amortization, depreciation. Amortization, depreciation.
Amortissement dérogatoire.
Derogatory depreciation. Derogatory depreciation.